Hi there, welcome to mysite Talks, the podcast where we dive into the world of restaurants, hospitality, and we talk as well as about trends in marketing of restaurants. My guest today is Mike Budny.
Thank you for the invitation.
We're going to talk about your business as you're the former owner of Polka Restaurant, one of the actually only restaurants with Polish cuisine in LA. I have a really tricky question for you as first. I'm really curious, do you think as for now about Polka more about like a relief, pride, or a battle?
It wasn't a battle. It was, as far as right now, I think it's a legacy. It's been there for 30 years because it was opened in 1994. We took it over in 2011. So it's a legacy which kind of died, I would say, because when we sold it, the new owner changed everything inside, and it's a basically fast food restaurant with burgers, fries, and tacos. So, and they changed the name as well. I still own the name as Polka in Los Angeles, and maybe in the future my daughter will go back and pursue that career if she will want to, because she loves to cook. But as far as right now, it's basically closed.
So how did Los Angeles first happen for you, and why did you choose to go with the HoReCa sector? I mean, like, it is an easy decision to go into this industry.
Well, basically, I ended up in Los Angeles after I finished at college in Riverside, a university, Cal Baptist. I was a swimmer over there. I had a full scholarship. And then I ended up at Polka on Friday evening, 2 weeks before I was flying out for Christmas to Poland. And the owners approached me, Andrew and Katrina, and they approached me that they're thinking about selling it. My family has a hospitality business background. We own a few hotels in Mazury in Poland. And I said, okay, I'm flying to Poland for Christmas. I'll talk. We'll see. Maybe we're going to do investment. I came back, and 6 months later, I was an owner. So it was it was a quick decision for investment to start a new chapter in my life after college. And I love to cook, I'm a chef by myself, not maybe like big one, but I know how to cook and everything. So that was the decision. And I finished business with marketing and management, and I have a master's in international business. So basically, Polka was international business in Los Angeles and California. So, all my degrees fit perfectly, and then I love to cook. So that's how I ended up at Polka.
And so why you took over a 90s restaurant, neighborhood restaurant, instead of starting a new concept?
Basically, it was easier to take over the restaurant, which is running with already established customer base. Because the revenue was already there. When we were checking all the documents, all the taxes and everything, before we bought it, the revenue was there. So we didn't have to start from scratch, from new building the customer base and everything. So that's why we made a decision like that, to do it quickly so we can have revenue right away.
And what were the things you thought that you shouldn't touch there, and what did you change?
The food by itself at Polka was already set at a very comfort food level, which people were looking for it. Okay, at that time when I took over, and before, when it started in '94, there was no Polish cuisine in Los Angeles, so they were actually only two right now even. So the comfort food of Polish food took over, and we tried to change the cuisine a little bit, but the main dishes always had to stay because there was customers for it. There was customer base for it. They were coming back for it. I had people driving from San Diego. I had people driving from San Francisco. Which is San Diego 2-3 hours. And San Francisco 7 hours to Los Angeles. So, like Tahoe people were coming, so I couldn't take out schnitzel, Of course, pierogis were the best seller, and then the schnitzel. So, the base was already there. I adjusted a little bit, but the base stayed.
So what did you change first month in this business?
First month in business, we basically end up refreshing the design of the food on the plates, because it was kind of throw like in the milk bar, elephant bar, you know, it was like kind of fast food. So we kind of upgraded it. We changed the design on the plate, and then we changed the part of the food like veggies. We end up going into fresh one, not frozen ones. Although there was comments always that we put frozen veggies, we end up only doing fresh veggies because it's a quality food. So that was the two changes first month, and then we pursued with a little bit of renovation of the restaurant because it was already old. So we changed the flooring, we changed the curtains, we changed the ceiling, we updated the kitchen a little bit. So it's easier to navigate in it, and we did new tables, stuff like that. So the total renovation and change of Polka took us between 3 to 5 years, but we did it slowly, so the people don't have like oh wow, it's a different restaurant, So we did it like slowly, step by step, so the people don't, change their idea about Polka.
Yes, I've seen in Hauer program, it looked at that time, about 20 years ago at least,
yes,
a bit like a living room. Yeah,
living room, like grandma's living room, so more of a communism, grandma living room, so we were trying to keep the idea of the grandma living room, but refresh it a little bit. And I think so we did it, because people liked it. We took some old stuff out, and we put some hutches, basement stuff, so the people liked it.
And how about the operations side?
The operations side didn't change much since I took over. Yes, we did mainstream delivery of our produce. We changed for better warehouse than I did. Then when I took over, I got new vendors and new stuff like that. So I still, when I was running Polka, I still was going once a week, twice a week to get the fresh produce, and I was picking the produce by myself because I had to do the basically deliveries and everything by myself. When I ordered a few times delivery from someone else, the produce came bad, and I had to throw it out. So I couldn't afford something like that because the margin is very small.
And have you seen any change in the marketing and as well in tech side of the business in this whole period of time? It was about 20 years.
Yes. Since 2011, when we took over, all the social media were starting. Facebook, Instagram later, TikTok, later. Then basically when I took over, it was only MySpace. And in Poland, there was, what did you call it? Gadu, stuff like that, So since 2011, that changed, very, very, very big. And, advertising, back then, it was basically newspaper or, sending a mail to customers, to the houses. But later when Facebook came out, then, that changed big time the game,
Or Hauer.
Oh, Hugh Hauser, yeah. Hugh Hauser, we also had a guy, Guy Fieri from Food Network. He was over there. Hugh Hauser, when they rerun the show, because they do in the free spots, in both in the Food Channel, Food Network, and the KTLA, then, there was an hour wait for the table in our restaurant. So that was the biggest marketing, tool to get people in. But then when the Facebook came out, it kind of changed, it moved to telephones, to Apple phones, and Samsungs, and screens, and it changed.
Then do you feel that marketing shifted from word of mouth to online space, or is it also?
I feel it's 50-50 at this point. Before, it was, 100% mouth to mouth. Plus, when we were lucky that we had those shows, but some of the restaurants, they didn't. So they had to spend a lot of money to send bulletins, to the houses and stuff like that, or put an ad in the newspaper, Los Angeles Times, or Glendale Times, stuff like that. We never had to do it. When I took over, the base was over there and the word of mouth. Yes, there was questions, new owner, what he's going to do. But there was never a bad questions that, oh, he changed the cuisine or stuff like that, you know. I just updated it and people liked it. So
Polka was a unique spot and is a unique spot in LA. There is not that much Polish cuisine restaurants there.
When we ran it, there was only 2, and then I opened up third one, pierogi spot, before COVID. There was one called Solidarity, and it's in Santa Monica. But their food, we had customers coming in from Santa Monica to eat our food because they didn't like that food over there. The competition between them, it was between Polka and Solidarity. It was basically they had bigger backyard and I had a full bar. I only had a beer and wine because I didn't want to deal with hard liquor. And plus my space was too small. You know, they had 3 times more than us, you know, so that's how it was.
So how did you actually position Polka? Was it more like comfort food? Was it Polish food just, or the neighborhood spot?
No, basically it was comfort food, Polish food, ethnic food, European food, schnitzel. I'm throwing hashtags right now for Instagram, you know. That's how I was marketing everything, you know. So pierogies hashtag, you know, schnitzel hashtag, cutlet, you know, cabbage rolls, you know, stuff like that. So it was comfort food, ethnic food, and European food, European cuisine, you know. That was the mains.
And what kind of guests ended up being your dream guests?
Dream guests, the dream guests were always half Polish, half American. So like the background of them, either grandparents or parents were Polish and they know the cuisine. And they were coming and, you know, discovering new things because the grandma passed away or mother passed away, you know. Or father or mother were Polish, you know, so they didn't have time to cook Polish food. So they were coming into us and, you know, eating lunches or dinners Saturdays, Sundays, you know, Fridays evening. So yeah, that was the dream. There was never a question about it, you know. So they always spend the most.
So most
money.
of them was either Polish or Americans, which also had some Polish roots.
Yes, that's correct. And recently, after COVID, I noticed there was more of an Asian community coming in.
Oh.
So that was kind of special for me. I did advertise in Pasadena, which was close to our location, and there's big Asian community over there. So probably that's how I hitched them. And they like our schnitzel. They like the dumplings, because our schnitzel was very similar to Japanese and Asian katsu. Pierogis were very close to gyozas, So they were looking for something new. So that's how it evolved.
But that's not easy to acquire new guests, especially in the ethnical food space. Especially that, we have not that many restaurants with Polish cuisine. People are not so interested with it, let's say. So
it's in Los Angeles is a specific space. It's a specific place for customers. We had to evolve to vegetarian menu. Okay, so we can capture the vegetarian people. So our soups became basically vegetarian. There was no beef or chicken stock in it, but they still tasted good, right? The other ethnicity people, they were coming in, and they were thinking about our food as a luxury food, because like Spanish people, Mexican people, they eat on a daily basis tacos, burritos, and quesadillas, So they were coming in and trying our food as a luxury food. So, that was going that way, main. Plus, food cost in Polka was much higher than they were doing the burritos and, tacos, because there's plenty of them. So everything was cheaper. For us, we had to make everything fresh in the kitchen, They can buy tortillas and, grill them and good to go, We had to roll the cabbage rolls. We had to, glue the pierogis. We had to deep fry the schnitzel, It couldn't stand, on a plate. We had to do everything fresh, so it took time.
Were you also cook yourself, or you had rather some employees? And
we had two. When I took over, we had three chefs. Of course, during the COVID, we had to close the restaurant for a little bit, so they find other jobs. And then after COVID, I was left only with one chef, and I was a chef, and my wife was running dining room. So evolution, COVID, and, stuff like that, it's changed drastically everything. So from 3 chefs, on the shifts, on 8-hour shifts, only 1 left, me and my wife. So, it was tough. It was tough.
So how HoReCa market evolved? How HoReCa industry evolved within this period, let's say last 10 years, 15 years?
The labor cost went twice higher than when I took over. When I took over, the minimum wage was $8.25. When I sold the restaurant right now, it was $17.24. So from the period of 14 years, me running the restaurant, the labor costs were almost twice. Okay. So, that was the differences, and the food costs went up, of course, during the COVID and after COVID, but that cost went kind of towards the customer, but the labor cost had to stay with me, so I had to adjust it somehow to save some money for me, on the payroll.
Was the revenue also higher, or?
The revenue, yes, the revenue was higher, but the margin between the revenue before COVID and after COVID didn't change much. It was maybe 10-15%, and but the labor went twice, so my profits went smaller too, so it was tough to navigate between.
Do you feel that willingness of guests to go to restaurant also changed?
During the COVID, yes, because they were scared, that they're going to get COVID, then our cuisine was not really for the to-go business. It has to be, it has to be and have to be eaten fresh, because they're getting soggy later, So the willingness, yes, but the regular base of the customers, they came back after COVID. So that was good. So I still had that base after COVID when I opened up. That I send emails, I send Facebook notification. Hey, we are open, come on in, and they show up. So we survived.
And how about delivery? Would you recommend delivery for a new restaurant owner?
Yes, delivery. It's at Polka, delivery was about 10% of the revenue, 10-15% of the revenue. We used Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, which were, drivers were coming in, and we took the orders from iPads. And I do recommend it because it's very, very important to have it. Even if you don't have customers in the restaurant sitting physically, you can always advertise on those platforms and you can get bigger revenue from it. So as an addition to the revenue, yes, for sure, do it. I wouldn't change that. They do cost. They take 25-30% cut, but if you can fit it in your food cost and your labor, do it. I do recommend it big time.
What was the one dish that quietly paid all the bills?
Pierogis and schnitzel. Sorry, I should say one dish, but I'm gonna say 2 dishes: pierogis, Polish dumplings, and schnitzel. The Polish cutlet. Those are the 2 big-time dishes which were paying the bills. So
mostly by delivery, or?
No, mostly by eating in the restaurant. Even 2 weeks before we sold the restaurant, Książula was eating at the restaurant, and he loved our schnitzel. He didn't really like our pierogis, but I think so they were standing 20 minutes on the table, and they got dry, but he loved the schnitzel. So that's a big point.
That may be one reason, but I feel that ingredients in US also taste a bit different than in Poland.
Seasonings, those are the big differences in the United States. Here we have more of a herbs stuff, in Poland, fresh herbs, dry herbs, Polish seasonings, like vegeta, kucharek. It's not, we couldn't get it over there, So some of the stuff I had to ship from Chicago or New York were at the bigger communities, Same with Polish beer, I had to get it delivered because in the stores there was not many stores who carry that, So we sold Żywiec, we sold Warka, and we couldn't get it on a daily basis. Sometimes we ran out after a weekend and I couldn't get it till Friday, The customers like, oh, come on, where's that Polish beer,
Right.
But yeah, seasonings.
Was there any like dish you loved as a chef, but the market was saying no, it doesn't?
We introduced at some point, I think so. It was in about 2016 or 17 when I had the restaurant for 5-6 years. We introduced devolai. Okay, and we imagine delivery that devolai in white gloves, like an upscale dish, and we advertised that on the tables, but people didn't really like it. There was 15 dishes in the menu, and the mainstream of that, it was basically like what's in the menu, and it didn't go, so it lasted for 3-4 months. And I took it off because there was no point of having it, Which, I love devolais, because they're juicy inside, crispy outside, But American community didn't like it, So we took it off.
And when you look back, what actually moved the needle for Polka regarding the guest acquisition? Was it Google reviews, social media? You were saying about Facebook, about as well influencers.
Facebook was the main acquirer for the customers. Google reviews, they start to do their job when we did Google ads. We started doing that 5-6 years ago, and then we got customers from that. But before, when Facebook came in, Facebook was doing the job, and Facebook still does the job. Instagram went side by side with Facebook later, but that was created later too.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, we never did TikTok because I was never want to be involved as far as personally in advertising the restaurant, so we didn't pursue TikTok. I never want to be like my face on the screen, and stuff like that. So we didn't pursue that. But I know TikTok does the job as well because I had a lot of friends with the restaurants and they did TikTok. As far as right now, I think so. Every platform has to be done for the restaurant. If you own the restaurant, you gotta be involved in all of them. Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they all bring customers. One of them less, one of them bigger, but you gotta be involved in all of them, unfortunately. So that's where we come to AI.
Exactly.
AI, that's why we're talking, so that's going to be great tool, and it's a great tool for mainstream and help restaurant owners.
I've seen that many restaurant owners doesn't want to show their face and to be personally involved in the marketing. Why is that? And actually, the second question after this would be, why do you feel that employing or not employing some freelancer or agency makes sense then to let the marketing?
Personally, I wouldn't want to be on Face because then all my customers will know me, and I wouldn't be as much incognito as I was, and I didn't want to be so popular over there. I mean, popular with my customers. Okay, they knew me personally, but I didn't want to evolve much more. And that. And then, my wife didn't want to be involved in that as well, so we kind of stayed in the background, in the restaurant and stuff like that. As far as the second question, can you repeat that?
Yeah, the question regarding them, like if the restaurant owner doesn't want to be involved in marketing, do you feel that employing, for instance, freelancer, social media manager or agency makes sense or not?
Yes, it does make sense, but it's costly. So small restaurants like mine, we had only 12 tables. You got to spend on that kind of services between $2,000 to $4,000 a month, which is not affordable for small mom and pops restaurants. It's affordable for bigger restaurants, Chinese, and stuff like that, Japanese, or if I will have bigger place, if I will have 2,500 square foot restaurant, then I would use that, because I'll have bigger base of the customers. I could fit in at once more customers. But over here in Polka, unfortunately, there was never that much money available for marketing on a monthly basis.
Do you think that location, marketing, or size of the restaurant was the biggest issue?
I think location of the restaurant, but everyone knew already. When I bought the restaurant, everyone knew that Polka is there, so I didn't want to change the location. I couldn't because the people will, they may not follow. So a location, if it would be better in a better location, closer to downtown Los Angeles, or like in a better neighborhood like Woodland Hills, or close to Hollywood, it would do better job. But it we still did good, so we were happy. So if owners are happy, customers are happy. If the customers are happy, they leave you more money, right? So the owner is happy then, and it's around,
So what were the good marketing moves that, if you are honest, didn't bring profitable guests?
Feel good moves. The best moves were the shows, the Hugh Hefner show and the Guy Fieri.
And later on?
Later on, Instagram ads and Google ads. Those were the moves to get the customers more.
How about, for instance, Yelp?
Yelp did work for us a little bit in the time when Facebook was not advertised that much. So we created Yelp because it was reviews, and before there was no Google reviews, So Yelp was the main tool to see which restaurant is good, and people could create reviews over there. So we had to be over there. We did advertise on Yelp, but it didn't really work for us, because we were more of a sit-down restaurant, not a fast food, and stuff like that. But then, like I said, Facebook, Instagram came up and kind of crashed that, Then Google reviews came up, and Yelp is kind of in the background right now as far as Los Angeles. And I think so all California, they kind of lack.
And if you had to launch a new restaurant even tomorrow, what would be your first 3 moves, marketing moves, saying that we have almost no budget?
Creating Facebook, Instagram, and Google. Those are 3 moves. And then advertise on that, because you don't really have to spend much money. Also, what's your budget, right? Depends how you're going to budget. If you want to open a restaurant, you got to create a marketing budget. And then you go on social media and you punch that budget in social media, because it's going to work. It's going to fly. Sure.
And generally saying, would you open other restaurants if you could open it?
I can open the restaurant, but right now when we sold Polka, I'm focusing more of our family business. That's why we came back to Poland, after 20 years. I'm more of a general manager of a restaurant right now in a dining room. So I'm learning new stuff. Because it's bigger environment, it's a corporation, it's a bigger restaurant, so I'm going more into corporate side of that than when I was involved over there in the kitchen, and talking to customers. So I'm going to open a restaurant because, it's in my background and still in my head, but what kind of cuisine, I don't know yet.
What are the 3 main I would say troubles restaurant owners has, or issues or problems which they tackle when they open new restaurant?
To get people in the doors, to create good quality food, and to keep that quality going, because the produce are changing, and you're trying to have that margin of food cost between food cost and your payroll. You're trying to have it the biggest you can. So some of the restaurant owners, start with the good quality, food and everything with less margin, but then they switch that. And customers are going out, and they're not gonna come back if they're gonna come in, another time, and the quality food is not gonna be that, So quality of the food, most important thing. If you have quality of the food, you're gonna get customers in, but you gotta show that you are there. So that's when comes marketing.
If you would have, for instance, 100K to open a new restaurant in LA, how would you start? How would you spend this money?
100K is not enough to open a restaurant in Los Angeles. If I have budget $250,000, then yes, I would probably go in a good neighborhood. grab a spot which would be about 2,000 square feet, including kitchen. And then I'll do a hybrid restaurant between fast food to casual dining, because then you fit in the most of area of the food, of the foodie people, Some people, they don't have money to go to 5-star restaurant, You create, 2-3-star restaurant, and then you're going to get more people to come in, so... But yeah, 100,000, food truck maybe, but in Los Angeles... which we had too. We had pierogi, Polka pierogi food truck. We had it before COVID. It was going great. But yeah, that's how I would do it.
So do you feel that mom and pop's restaurant can afford one meal to open a restaurant?
Yes. 1 meal. You're saying $1 million? Do they have
yes.
it? If you have $1 million, you can open five restaurants. Easy. First one's going to cost you about $200K, $250K, but then from the revenue you can get credits, from the banks, and you can push it towards another 5, which our restaurant pierogi spot was that idea, to create a chain from it, like a small fast food modern restaurant, but COVID killed it, so we had to close after COVID.
And right now, from my point of view, everyone is talking about AI for restaurants in many different, with many different ideas. When you hear that, what do you think about? Do you think it's like other hype, tool, or possibility for?
I would call it not nicely tool, okay? Because some people say tools, for people are bad, but it's a tool, and I think so. It's a great tool which can help and give restaurant owners more time to think about different things in the restaurant, because AI is going to take over the advertising, creating the content and everything. It's going to be on basically on the mainstream. You're not gonna have to think about advertising because the AI will be doing. So it's a great tool, and if I would be in a situation of opening a restaurant, that would be the first thing I would do.
And you was talking about the COVID times and the issues you had with the restaurants on the way, with the revenue, lower revenues, and so on. Can you take us to the day when you realized that this is not a slow month, this is just a longer period of time in which we're gonna not have that many guests as previously?
Well, during the COVID times, we closed for 3 months. Okay, we tried to stay open, but like I said before, our food was more of a fresh food to the table, not in the to-go boxes. And our customer base was more of a dine-in restaurant customers, and not to go. So, I kept the restaurant open for 2-3 weeks during the COVID, and then I shut it down because government introduced, money for people who cannot work, for our industry. So I just told my workers, listen, just go apply for that, and we're gonna close for now. I didn't know for how long I'm gonna close. Okay, so the government didn't say 3 months, but I knew that if we don't have people coming in for dining, then we're not gonna have the revenue. The government opened 3 months later 25% of the dining rooms and patios. So I basically, whatever money I had saved, I demolished my patio on the side, which was a storage basically, and I built a patio. So we could sit, 3 tables in the dining room and 5 tables on the patio. So the people were going to start coming in. So after 2 months, we opened up. And it was slowly, getting movement. But the 3 months we didn't do, much.
Did you get any subsidy or any other kind of help?
We did. The government helped. The government depends of your earnings before. They gave you between $500 to $600 on a weekly basis to pay for your bills, housing, and everything like that. So. Plus they subsidize your lease for the restaurant or for your house. So it was good help from them. They were printing a lot of money to help people, during COVID. So that ended up being actually good. So It wasn't bad.
And who said, let's go do a GoFundMe race? And
the GoFundMe, it was basically to pay the bills because it was a weird situation, The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power didn't tell anyone, any business customers, that they charge them $300 monthly even to be hooked in, Some of the business were charged $800 to be hooked in. But if you close the restaurant, you don't use electricity, right? You don't use water. You don't use any utilities, but they still charge you, right? So the bills were piling up, even though the restaurant was closed. So that was the situation when we had to do GoFundMe and ask for our customers for help, to stay afloat, to pay those bills from COVID. And, the GoFundMe went well, and, we paid those bills, and it was cleared, so it was good.
so after GoFundMe and ABC7 story, have anything changed in the numbers?
Yes, the past bills went off of my back, so it was more money to go into better quality of the food, to explore little different menus, because you gotta evolve. If you're a restaurant owner, you gotta evolve. You gotta go to different restaurants, taste their food, because there's innovations, there's different plates, there's different plating, you gotta stay on top of that. Because if you don't, and you're gonna keep your, old school stuff, then the customers eventually gonna go away to a different new restaurant, So.
And what COVID taught you about having a restaurant or leading a restaurant?
COVID taught me that I didn't want to have a restaurant anymore. So, if it wouldn't be for COVID, I would have probably already 10 restaurants. Okay, because I had an investor for Pierogi Spot to be a small chain. We opened up 9 months before COVID, the second restaurant, and it was created to be a small chain of the restaurants, It was a mainstream for the pierogi sale. And people loved it before COVID. It was full house all the time. And then the COVID hit and killed that. Plus my investor went away because he didn't know when the government's going to open up the restaurants again, and they, and say, listen, we don't know. So we got it backed out, So I lost that investment. And I lost a lot of money because of that, which government didn't cover.
So it looks crazy, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But you also said that you want to open a new spot.
Yes, in the future, in Poland. But not right now. Right now, I gotta feel the family business, what we have in Mazury. Hotel Zamek Rynny and Ognisty Ptak, and then we're gonna see what we're gonna do. I know I'm not gonna stay only because it's gonna get boring eventually, and I like the new ideas. I like challenges. For now, this is my challenge, and we'll see. We'll see what's gonna be in the future.
So what really made the decision? I'm out.
The decision was. About a year ago, when basically my father and my parents, they decided they kind of want to go on retirement eventually, and my father had a heart surgery and he didn't really want to fly anymore to California because it's a 12-hour flight. Plus, with my wife, we decided that we want our daughter to finish Polish high school. Because the level of high schools in the United States, the public ones, and we couldn't afford the private ones. The public ones is very low. So we saw first year how she was going and what was going on, and that was basically the decision. Yes, she has a very hard time right now, because she only finished Saturday schools in church, so she speaks and she reads a little bit Polish, so she has a hard time right now at school. But I know that's going to be very profitable in the future, because I finished high school in Poland. I didn't leave country till my college, and I know that when she's going to finish that high school, she's going to have a big base to go into college in either United States or in Europe, and she's gonna be okay. With high school or teaching level high school in the United States, she would have problems. So that was that decision. Plus, we want to be closer to the family. You know, my wife's parents are getting older as well. My brothers, you know, Philip, a very good friend. You know, he's in Warsaw. You know, I wanna. He liked California, but he never want to live over there. So, you know, he said, you know, come back. You will see Warsaw. You will see that, you know. So we came back. We want to be closer to the family. Plus, we want to discover more of a Europe and Asia, because we like to travel. I'm a foodie. I like to travel too. My wife like to travel, you know. So we want to discover more of that continent over here. Because the States, we've been there. I've been there 20 years. My wife 15. We saw everything. we travel, you know. We saw everything. So it was kind of, you know, boring already. We know everything in California, so, and Florida, you know, stuff like that. So it was more of that move, you know, to change something in life, and it was a last time to do that, you know, because I have 41 years old, you know. If I want to move, that's the good time to move, you know. So we packed everything. We do the pallets with boxes, which we picked up on Friday. Then we are waiting to pick up cars, you know. We shipped everything. We closed the house. We sold the restaurant, and we are back over here.
From your experience, if any restaurant owner listens now and now feels stuck, would you tell him, and he has good food, let's say, and bad numbers, what would you tell to him where they should look at first? AI, and advertising on Facebook, Instagram, and Google. Those tools are created to be marketing very simple in the restaurant industry. Okay, if you're gonna use those tools, there is no way you're not gonna get customers in. It's impossible. If you're using those tools, it's impossible to not get customers. You will get them. So even if you're stuck, be patient. You know, advertise more. If you are low on the budget, okay, do the low budget, but do it. Okay, do not do it. You gotta do it to keep moving forward. And how about location and other factors?
Locations are a big factor. Parking is very big factor of the restaurant. The restaurant has to have at least 5 to 8 spots of the parking space in front. At least, I would say. And the location has to be in a good neighborhood or close to businesses. It depends on what kind of concept you have. If you have a fast food, that I will say closer to the businesses, so you can do the revenue from lunch crowds. If you are closer to neighborhoods, then you can do basically dinners, you know, for the families, and then lunches on the weekends, you know. So it depends. What's your budget, where you're going to be, and what kind of cuisine you want to do. But locations is important, and the parking.
Do you still feel that even small mom-and-pop's restaurant can win, even in bigger cities when there are bigger chains, bigger restaurants, bigger budgets?
They're not going to win. It's simple. You know, the competition of the big chains, small mom-and-pop's restaurant is not gonna compete with McDonald's or California chain In-N-Out, which In-N-Out was a mom-and-pop restaurant before, but right now it's a huge chain, right? So it's impossible to compete. Okay, they need to find their own niche of a market. Okay, and you know, get those customers in, which they will. Okay, because many people are going out of the habit of going to fast food. And plus, in America, fast food is getting more expensive right now. So, as example, my plates were between $18 to $24, which we include a soup, salad, and the main course. But you go to McDonald's, you're getting fries, drink, and a burger, and it costs you $20. And it's basically not very good quality food, let's call it. I don't want to use different words. But you come to me, and then you get good quality food, you know, for the same price. They have to price food like that because they have bigger labor costs, right? So they have to. And mom and pops, they will be more towards better quality food, and they will get those customers because people will learn in the future that all those chains are not very good for health and stuff like that. So
it sounds like even small mom and pop restaurant has to scale quick.
Yes,
and it's all about scale.
Yes, they have to scale. They have to advertise. They have to get customers in. And in America, it's going out. It's a habit. Okay. People are going out on a daily basis. They don't cook much of food at home. Maybe breakfast, which is basically cereal with milk. So let's not call that cooking. And then if they cook on big occasions like Thanksgiving, Labor Day, Independence Day. Then they do barbecues. Okay, but besides that, there's not much of a habit of cooking. Of course, Hispanic food, Hispanic grandmas, Mexican grandmas, they still cook. But there's a habit of going out, big time on the weekends, especially.
Why do you feel that many owners doesn't want to scale? I mean, like I can see that many owners just are okay with the size they are and with the numbers they have, and they just don't want to go higher.
Because they're comfortable in that environment, They don't want to go. They don't want to risk too much, because if you want to go up, you got to invest money, right? If you want to scale higher, you got to invest more money. And then if they are basically scared to evolve into bigger restaurants or another restaurant because they are scared that they're gonna lose that money. Okay, so basically, money-wise, that's why. If they feel comfortable, they clearing $10,000-$12,000 a month from that small restaurant or medium-sized restaurant, then it's enough for them. They feel comfortable with that kind of money. They live comfortable, and they don't want to change anything, Or they're already older and they don't have energy. Because some of people who own that restaurant, they're in the 50s, 60s. It's time for retirement almost. So they don't want to go into another brick and mortar or an open food truck or whatever. So they stayed.
And that's the reason also the restaurant doesn't evolve. So they don't know how to do ads. They don't know how to use Facebook, Instagram. They don't know how to just basically acquire customers, new customers.
Yes. They older. They I had customers which they still use flip phones, which those years right now it's unusual.
Yeah, because the customers also get older.
Yeah,
and you have to acquire a new one.
Yes,
and that's all about it.
Yes, and then AI comes in to get those customers because newer ages, millennials and what's the Gen Z, they all have those phones, smartphones. That's how you get them in your doors, with marketing and social media and AI.
Yeah, so I feel that social media and AI should be something like connector with the.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so Mike, I have actually for you about 15 questions, which I would call quick shots.
Sounds good.
So I'm just gonna read them and try to answer as quick as you can. Obviously, if you'd like, you can use longer sentences.
Okay.
But try to just go, with yes or no.
Okay.
So the first one: running a restaurant today, more survival game or more creativity game?
Creativity game.
One marketing channel you would bet on if you would open a place tomorrow?
Google Ads.
One marketing channel you think is totally overrated for small restaurants?
TikTok.
Influencers, more money in the till or more noise in your DMs?
More noise in DMs.
Google reviews or Instagram? If you could only keep one, so Google reviews or Instagram?
Google reviews.
Would you let AI write your captions?
Yes.
Would you let AI answer your guests' messages?
Yes.
What kills restaurant faster? Bad food, bad service, or bad positioning?
Bad food. Service you can always adjust.
And how about positioning?
Positioning, it's costly. So it's not going to kill the restaurant.
One old school move that still works insanely well in 2025?
smile and talk to customers.
Yeah.
That always works.
I've heard that smile is the most important.
Yes,
So,
it is. If you smile and you see the customer, even if they have bad mood, and you smile, you approach them with a smile, you're winning that. You're winning that environment, and that customer is yours. It's going to leave you a bigger tip.
So how to make customers spend more in your restaurant?
Talk to them, be nice to them, and even if they have a bad day, you try to change that day, and they already know that you're the guy, and stuff like that. So it's not easy, but if you're gonna learn the basis, then you're gonna win every customer with the smile and approach.
Yeah, the service is super important.
Yes, service is very important. Same as food quality.
Yeah, but
Same level.
I also one thing I feel that the service could be done better.
It's always, humans are not robots. They're not gonna repeat every approach to the customer. So basically, when customers are coming in, every customer will be approached differently because we're not gonna repeat the same thing, right? But if you have those bases, then you're gonna approach and you're gonna talk to them and you're gonna feel they're gonna feel comfortable with you. Then the service is gonna be good.
So what's one thing guests do that makes owner leaves 10x easier instantly?
I don't know. I don't know answer for that question.
Maybe give more tips.
Yes, give more tips. Yeah, I would call it give more tips. Yeah.
What's one thing guests do that makes owners leaves hell instantly?
They talk behind their backs, and they don't talk in front. What's wrong? So basically, customers comes in, eat your food, saying to you everything is good, but they go and talk, bad stuff about the restaurant. That's the biggest hell for the restaurant owner.
Or give bad reviews, yes.
Yeah. Because if the customer will say right away to the owner what's wrong or what he doesn't like, then the owner can right away adjust that. And then he doesn't have to think, what was wrong, if he's going to see the bad reviews, So that's the hell for the restaurant owner.
So what to do with bad reviews? Delete or answer?
I always answer them. And I always say, we are very sorry for whatever happened. And we're gonna be better in the future. And then I try to invite that customer again. And then, of course, give them some free dessert, or some, side order free, stuff like that to satisfy them. And, of course, the bad review needs to be changed, It needs to be changed in the restaurant, not in the review.
Full house with the margins or half full with strong margins? What do you pick as an owner?
More people with less margin. I like to work hard, fortunately. That's my habit.
But you're Paul.
Yeah.
What was your best $0 marketing move at Polka?
The best marketing move at Polka?
$0 marketing move.
Facebook.
Really?
Yeah.
So just expanding community and...
Yeah. Well, yeah, Facebook.
Did you get any help from, for instance, California Restaurant Association?
We didn't get any help from California Association besides informations. Okay, that association is more of an information for the restaurant owners, not help. They are directing you where you can get help, yes, but they're not gonna help.
So, do you feel that every owner should be a part of the part of the yes. California or national association?
Yes, because then you have access to all the information you need, and whatever new information are coming out, you have access to those. So yes, for sure.
You've told me that it helped you really much, for instance, in COVID times when you didn't know when to open.
Yes.
What?
And those information were coming in from either
CRA,
California Association or Restaurant Association, or from basically news channels, you know. So those were the two outlets I had to keep on, you know, almost all the time. I was waking up and getting those information. So,
if you open one more restaurant in your life, niche concept or super mainstream?
Super mainstream.
In a great location with plenty of money, plenty of clients.
Yes.
It just works better.
Yes.
But I also feel that a new restaurant owner always want to start smaller.
Yes. Yes, of course, but
catch.
you know, it's a catch, you know. I already had niche restaurant, you know, Polish cuisine in Los Angeles. So I know how it feels and what battles are to get those customers in. If you open something which is popular, it's easier to get the customer in your door. So,
if you or one sentence you would put on a wall in every restaurant office for the owner to read daily, what would it be?
Smile and work hard.
I like this.
Yeah, that would be, you know, hashtag smile and another hashtag work hard.
Mike, thank you for the talk. Thank you for the talk. It was really
Thank you
nice
for
to
the
have you here.
invitation. Appreciate it.